that once a year moment or quarterly moment, do bookkeeping, payroll, accounting, a bunch of other stuff. And with the rise of the gig economy, help people understand maybe they should become a small business. That might be a good thing for them. I said it's going to take us a couple of years to do that. We're under that transformation right now. And the team I lead, the organization that I'm in, is focused on how we do that through our customer touch points, our employee touch points, and the channels that they engage with us. Hopefully getting to a year-round engagement, not just once a year.
I thought you were going to talk about doing transformation like in a month. It's going to take more than a month?
A little bit more.
Carl?
Karl Fischer, I'm the managing director of our customer experience transformation vertical. I work for a company called DecisivEdge. I'm not going to use the word consultant because that has a negative connotation. So I'll use what we do is we help companies transform their contact center and help drive and deliver an enhanced customer experience and agent experience. When I talk contact center, I don't want us just to think call center. We think about the omnichannel experience and all the pieces and integrations that go in there as well. So delighted to be here, delighted to have the talk with these two distinguished gentlemen. And that picture was actually from the fall catalog of the JCPenney Big and Tall catalog, and I appreciate it. You guys recognize me, that's where that came from. So.
Jay.
Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning. Jay Larson, I'm with Nationwide Insurance, and I lead an enterprise sales division focused on Nationwide's 11 sectors of distribution. Everybody's pretty familiar with Nationwide. As part of that, I lead enterprise intermediary CX. We're a heavily intermediated business, so about 95% of Nationwide's interactions go through an agent, a wholesaler, advisor, consultant, folks that you would recognize as advisors and professionals that you work with on your risk. We're a protection-based company, and in our mission, we exist to protect people, businesses, and futures with extraordinary care. So those 9 words, we have integrated extraordinary care into our mission to make customer experience part of our North Star, and then everything in and under that is a raft of services and capabilities that we continue to build. We're all on this journey of CX to continue to create experiences that matter, mission moments that matter for our customers. I'm delighted to be here with this panel. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, for this discussion, I think we'll frame it in 2 distinct areas of thinking. First is, how do we find those moments that matter? And 2, when we find those moments that matter, what do we actually do? And I think it's interesting because the 2 of you gentlemen have this multi-level customer experience as well. So we'll look at that in that context as well. But why don't we start? Let's start over there with you, Jay. We'll work back this way. How do you find these channels or the moments that matter? Because there's so many ways we can touch the customer.
Yeah, so in really have to start with defining who our customer is. Because you all as end users, whether you drive an auto or own a home or rent or whatever, or have a 401k or life policy, you're an end user, you are a customer of your company. In this case, in my case, it would be Nationwide. We also have the intermediary, in which a lot of our business associated through. We have a direct channel as well. Our customers can interact and purchase from us directly. We provide solutions on a direct basis. But the interactions are often the same, but sometimes they're different. And identifying what is important to focus on, particularly in sentiment, is coming in a number of ways. And I'll maybe talk beyond the ordinary things that we might do to measure sentiment to some of the things that we're in the beginning stages of doing in sentiment analysis and really trying to understand how the customer is interacting with us, whether it's an agent, an advisor, or a member, because we are a mutual company. We call our customers, our end customers, members. They're a member of Nationwide when they join us. In the scenarios where they're interacting with us, whether it's via internet, a text to chat, an interaction that's coming in through email or call, we're trying to understand what was their connectivity, how many times have they tried to connect with us, what was their sentiment, what's the root cause analysis, and we're implementing tools to understand that with some learning engines to really get a sentiment as to what's happening. Did we introduce something up channel, through a billing statement, or something that has initiated this call, and is that thing scaling? right? Did you do something on Friday that on Monday has the call center blowing up? And with a very large, complex organization, 10 different sectors, that can happen. These tools enable us to respond more quickly to those things that maybe we introduced. Now, that's kind of a defensive mechanism, right? You are stepping in to prevent defects. And yesterday there was a great conversation around defect management. Some folks have that in their title, and I can appreciate where that comes from. However, we do want to change our suit while we're riding the bike. We would like to be offensive in nature as well. So we continue to aspire and gain knowledge around when a customer is contacting us, whether it's an agent or the end customer, the member, what are they telling us? Are they asking us about a product that they should be more informed on? Are they inquiring about something that already exists in a policy or a contract that they have with us? And how do we close those loops with our marketing departments, our underwriting, our sales divisions? That is a proactive, off of your heels and on your toes approach that we're really becoming more and more focused on.
Very, very, very complex. I feel like the multiverse of CX is happening right here. Andrew, can we talk about the multiverse of CX? You have, in similar to Jay, you have this multiple layer. In his case, you have the members and the agents. And I wonder, when we look at these moments that matter, certainly sentiment is important to the members, but in the agents, is a sort of acquisition metric or an advancing metric important? How do you distinguish those, and how do you find the differentiating important moments that matter that drive the entire brand?
I look to Jay's industry often. I look to the mortgage industry, the healthcare industry. They have a lot of similarities to the tax prep experience because in our business, we're retail. Most people don't know. We're actually a retail business that also services and professional expertise like tax prep. We have 9,500 stores, or offices as we call them, across the US. And so you might interact in one of those stores with one of our 30,000 tax professionals or our front desk help. So they're much like an agent or a mediator. And that experience is definitely a moment that matters. In fact, it's one of the largest moments that matter. Your relationship with your tax professional is an outweighed experience on what you think about block and how you look at your money. And you're a real expert. They're maybe even somebody in your own community. So that's a moment that matters. And we're very focused on that, but it's not our only channel. And it's where the company started. It's where the company will continue to be. But over time, we've developed a do-it-yourself product called Tax Prep, much like TurboTax. Most people don't know that about us, but it's an amazing product. It's another channel for us. And inside of that one, we have an opportunity for people to get that same expertise. But a moment that matter we're working on right now, and we're not always doing it right, is how to provide certain types of help when a do-it-yourselfer wants to finish their taxes. So we could help you on a tax-related question. We could help you on a product support-related question. The technology is not working. Maybe you just want to read a little bit more about 1099 to get better informed, but you don't need someone to answer that. Or after an hour, your confidence is kind of low. And when we talk about confidence and effort and care a lot, your confidence is low. I'm not sure I'm going to get it right. There's a channel, there's a moment that matters that you can actually have a tax professional finish it for you. And what we're trying to do is align all those ways of starting, stopping, continuing, pausing, waiting, questioning, wondering, in a way that the customer isn't confused and they know their next best step. So the moments that matter along that, insurance, you probably deal with it once a year, maybe twice, similar to tax. Mortgage, maybe once every couple of decades. That's a little less frequently than tax. But we can learn a lot about those interactions between people that are helping you, doing it yourself, and then keying in on the channels, as you mentioned, on the touch points, where today, customers aren't being delighted. And in tax, yes, I think we can deliver delight. I think that's something we can aspire to do. It's tough, but we can do it. We can do it.
Awesome. Well, I think, Karl, your expertise is really omnichannel, dealing with each of these touch points, these moments that matter. I know that in your business, you really make each of the touch points relevant in the context of all of them. You've heard these two gentlemen talk about their landscapes. Can you tell us a little bit about how you perceive this this multi-level of agent, member, or these two layers, but also, there's this layer of employee experience
Absolutely.
that's highly in there.
So, I was listening to Jay, I was listening to you too, but I was listening to Jay, and when Jay talked about who's the difference by customer, and it's so true. So we often talk about moments of truth, which are the touch points customers have, or moments that matter, and then I like to get into the moments of truth and where do they fail. And so we'll start to take a look at, these are your moments of truth, and Lisa talked earlier about, from TIA, about mapping the journey and putting the data to the touch point. So, to get a bit prescriptive, you got your journey, you're always gonna have those aha moments, and we've been there, right? You put the brown paper up and you sit back and you start to take a look, and then all of a sudden you start to see where they failed. And you put numbers to where they failed, and you start to understand, for example, we're all proud of our website, its brand, but why do so many people go to our website, yet they're calling into the contact center or a chat with questions that should be intuitive on the website? What's the gap? There's a moment of truth there where my website, which is a touch point, isn't driving the proper gap. And that could happen whether it's a portal for the agents, whether it's a portal for the customers, or whether it's an internal portal for your people with a knowledge base. And so where are those moments of truth where you fail? And how do you fix those? We take a look at data in several different ways. You've got, and we're all various stages of maturity, but we take a look at data in several different ways, regardless of the customer, the touch point. You've got that descriptive data, what happened? And then as you move along the maturity level, then you got, diagnostic data, why did it happen, right? So we all been there, and this is why we have data silos, because no one wants to give up that data, because they've got to have control of that data, because when the boss comes and tells me what's going on, I've got to be able to answer, which is why we also never progress our reporting and analysis people. But then you get into predictive data, what's going to happen next? Well, 9 times out of 10, people do this. And then, and Jay, you talked about sentiment, then you get into prescriptive data. What should I do next? And so as you start to evolve along that journey of maturity of data, and you start to work through that process and apply them to your touch points, we're very good at doing the diagnostic and the descriptive. What happened and why did it happen? We're getting better at doing predictive with modeling. As we apply sentiment, then we can start to get into prescriptive. And I think as you do the breakdown points, literally do your breakdown points of your critical moments that matter, and you start to see where it breaks down. Very much like Lisa said today when they did that map. Don't swallow the whole pig, take a journey end to end across channel. Then you can start to see how you can fix those things.
You talked, all of that data makes the executives smarter and certainly important, but part of the conversation that I've been hearing a lot in the industry is this idea of making the employee or the customer smarter at the touch point. And I know, Andrew, you have some initiatives that are sort of trailblazing in that way, and I think Jay does too. Can you tell us about education and its role in uplifting the entire brand's customer experience from a knowledge perspective?
I want to build on Karl's comment with 2 specific examples that hit on this. Over the last 3 years, we have begun virtualizing our tax prep service. You can do things online or at home. You don't have to go into the retail offices if you choose not to. That's more convenient. In the first couple of years, we didn't see a lot of adoption, but we felt like we developed the tools and the right capabilities. We really did. In the last year, we went from 7% to 30% virtual tool adoption because we educated our tax professionals in the field, our associates. We spent more time, we spent over 3 months telling them why the tools matter, how to use them really well, and which ones are driving the most value. And what we learned was that most people wanted to upload their documents. That's a capability we have. We also do a lot of bookings, just like IHG and others, Marriott, Hyatt. We do a lot of bookings, and we learned how to do that better. So that was one way that we spent 3.5 months educating the field on the right ways to use the tools, incentivizing the behavior of using those. And the other one I'll bring is an education to the internal team, to people like me. Of those 4 virtual tools, our analytics teams looked at the data, and they did a longitudinal study for most of the tax season. And what we learned was really interesting. We didn't actually have to have a client use all the virtual tools as we suspect. We thought that would be awesome, great experience. 1 or 2, and in fact 1 outweighed all the others, approving your documents online or submitting your documents virtually was actually a better predictor of concluding a return with us. Now, we still would love if they utilized all the tools if it was convenient to them. But to Karl's point, now we're focused on, okay, we can recommend that, we can nudge people, we can say, hey, this client looks most likely like they would like to digitally drop off stuff. How can we send a message? How can we advocate for them in the right channel? Last year we brought TikTok on as a channel. Now, I'm not saying that in TikTok we're all of a sudden going to show a digital drop off, but we might. That would be kind of fun, I think. But it's a way of us saying,
That'd be awesome.
if they're likely to do it, how can we use that analytic insights? And so I would say we educated ourselves, and we kind of smashed our hypothesis, and we're actually now saying, hey, let's focus the roadmaps, the product improvements, the marketing messages on the areas that we know are kind of gaining traction. Let's go where that goodness is.
Wow. Jay?
You know, when it comes to education in particular, of course, educating our distributors is key. They have to understand our products inside and out. But how many of you have read your auto policy or your homeowner policy? All right.
Whoa.
It's our insurance.
They all
group.
work with you. That's right.
Those are insurance people.
Yeah.
We'll geek out
The
later.
actuarials over there.
The truth is many of the products are ubiquitous. While we do sell our brand and capability, we have to have our agents educated on things that are important to them to help them run their businesses. For instance, financial service firms, E&Y just published a study that 70% of females want to be advised by other women. So positioning information to business owners about how they grow their business, how they hire, how they staff their organizations, that's valuable to an entity. That's a value that we can create and share with our business partners, in addition to understanding our products. When it comes to our customers, we are a protection company. Other than if they ever print a policy or a form or a contract that we have with them, there is nothing empirical that we've provided them other than a promise. And we have to show up to play when it's the Super Bowl of insurance, when Ian comes through Southwest Florida and our CAT teams go and create these great experiences, and they have all of this autonomy and equipment capability. That's where everybody shows up and plays in the Super Bowl of insurance. Our customers have to feel that empathy on a day-to-day basis. And they have to feel like, if their kitchen burns down, that's their Ian event, right? The fire department came in and destroyed the home, but they put the fire out. So the things that we focus on are to really automate the ordinary and create or enable the opportunity for that customer service representative, that contact center, to perform at an extraordinary care level. And there's only so much you can do. You have to put time back on someone's game clock to do that. And where we have focused is in that event, all of those things that have to happen. Hey, we're sending you a rental car, it'll be there within 2 hours. We've already reserved your hotel room, it's across town at the Hilton or the Marriott, the Bonvoy. We've also deposited $1,000 into your account for just miscellaneous expenses, things that we don't want them to miss their car payment because they have these additional expenses. Things that are forethought that can be done and automated, that's where Nationwide is spending its time so that that person can show empathy, right? It's tough to do all that stuff while you're hunting and pecking. It's a lot easier to say, that is just horrible, I'm so sorry that that happened to you. And to be able to get in the shoes, to walk in the shoes with that customer. That's where empathy has to happen. I think where we spend most of our time is trying to create that scenario where we're positioning people for success and positioning our partners for success, because our intermediaries trusted us with their business, right? They chose us. Average independent agency has 10 auto carriers. I actually think that that's light, but they put you in a comparative rater. You pop up in the top 3, and then you get to go to the dance and see who they're going to pick. That usually comes down to brand and value associated with that brand. We are a very empathy-based brand. We believe in extraordinary care, and that's our North Star, and we try to employ it in everything that we do.
Well, that's a lot. Again, the multiverse. So, Karl, can you tell us a little bit about, these moments that matter? I'm curious, do you see, because you have a perspective, Karl, across a vast number of brands, do you see particular moments that matter where there's a trend for investing time and energy or budget? Or do you think that brands are still sort of all different and all with different agendas?
I think we're still in that, at least we believe we're all different with different agendas, but I would tell you that we're all judged now on the basis of customer experience, right? We're all judged, and customer experience and agent experience, they're correlated so strongly. So I believe we believe we're all different, right? Even in this room, or even the vendors, we're all different, right? But I believe we believe we're all different, but the reality is, and you've probably heard this in tons of conferences, people would say, if you're calling the utility company or the cable company next, right? We always pick on that. And the last interaction was LL Bean or Zappos. You're in a world of hurt. You're just not gonna meet expectation most likely, right? So, we all have to compete on that level where we have to up our game on customer experience. That's good for companies such as ourselves. But what I would say is, what I see is this: I see various levels of engagement, and a lot of it's focused on AI, and I see a lot of it's focused on agent. Not only virtual agent, but actually, agent interaction and agent insight, and delivering more intelligence to your agent for several reasons. Someone already mentioned the Great Resignation, right? Depending on who you're reading, what you believe, it's on the internet, it's got to be true. What drives agents issues, right? So scheduling, so workforce engagement. Revenues, income's always important, but they want the tools and tactics and education to be successful. And the more we work into a remote environment, the more that becomes important. And so the investments in the agent interaction, we spend a lot of time with our clients and our prospects talking about swivel chair. And I don't know if you guys, we use the word swivel chair, but what swivel chair is you walk into a company and you say, show me your service center. And they say, well, I've got 14 applications that I use to service a client. And you start to say, okay, let's talk. Because how much is repetitive data entry? How much is prone for error? How much can be automated workflow? How much? And you start talking to individuals about that. And crawl, walk, run, right? This is a marathon, not a sprint. Crawl, walk, run. Think about that agent's life, where first of all, we've all gotten great at automation. So we take away the low-hanging fruit. And everything I read, which is BS, is, we're gonna make the agent's life a lot more enriched. No, you just get off a call where someone's shaking your timbers real good, and the next call's gonna be the same thing, because the one about what's my balance is gone, and they just wanted that breather for 30 seconds. We need to focus on the agent side of the equation, because if you don't focus on that agent is your brand. That's your customer-facing brand. And whether they're talking to them on voice and chat or managing a workflow, that's your brand. And if you don't get the agent right, you're not going to get that experience. First keynote yesterday, right? CX plus EX plus BX. You don't get the agent right, you're not going to have the CX to the BX right.
I'll maybe just add on to that. I think when it comes to your distribution partners, they're expecting that you make it work first, then you make it simple, and then you can make it memorable. And that comes down to, in our business, when we provide a solution, we don't make money year one. In fact, we don't even know if we're going to make money. It takes a couple years to achieve a break-even point, because risk is risk. You're providing a promise, and you kind of have an idea how it's going to work out. Pretty good idea, but you don't know. So you have to have, a simple renewal process, right? That agency wants to know that you're not going to drag that business back through a keyhole next year as it goes through renewal. That you're not forcing your agent or distributor into a channel either. We all have a portal. We all have an access point for our customers, for distributors to come to us through, but they may be choosing another fashion, another way to get to you. It could be a rater that is coming in and that you need to bridge to. We don't force our intermediaries, our partners, into a channel. We have to make it available to them and let them choose. Now, we hope that they'll choose our portal, but they're certainly going to be able to always bridge to it and connect with us and get the solutions that they need for their customers.
I wanted to pick up on the word expectation, and in the omnichannel verse.
Oh, that's good.
Omnichannel verse.
Nice.
The experiences are becoming more frequent. They are in many different places all at once. And we're doing that to meet customers where they are, where we want them to be, or where we see value and convenience. At the same time, they, us, our internal teams, our associates, they're dealing with the confusion that complexity naturally has. Systems will continue to build and they become harder to use. Expectation setting is a way to unlock where your customer or your associate are supposed to be. And we don't spend enough time, I don't spend enough time, we're trying to spend more time on this. How soon do you want your tax return done? It's a very simple question. We can actually solve a lot of our yield management problems in our workforce just by knowing, do you want it 2 days or 3 weeks? 3 weeks? Well, we've got time.
Right.
2 days? Okay, we gotta hustle. We built a fulfillment network that allows us to move that return to areas of capacity. Well, what if we also said that in some of our marketing messages or in our call center messages? How soon do you want to be responded to? Would you like me to text you in 30 minutes when your kids are done? Now, yes, it takes a little bit of dialogue, but I actually think the more we focus not necessarily on new channels, augmenting channels, or building new experiences, and I love building experiences and head design, that's quite fun. What if we took 10 or 20% of that effort and we spent on how often do you know with very good clarity what your customer is expecting right now in the channel they're in, and of course, what's the associate expecting? And that's not exclusive, like you actually have to expect the same thing together, so you could be wildly off. One book I encourage everyone to read is called The End of Average. And I'm gonna give you 2 of the 3 principles so you can go read the book and learn. The third one, it's called Pathways. It's really relevant to Omnichannel, but the first 2 are really interesting. And that is we are contextual. We are also jagged. So the first bit is, let's talk about contextual. We make decisions contextually. So if Andrew is confident in showing up to work and designing things, I might not be equally confident in my own tax return. So don't think Andrew's confident. Think Andrew is confident in designing things, and that he might need more help when he gets to the tax return. That's jaggedness, and we're all very jagged. And we don't often play to that strength. We don't understand that well enough about our customers. The other one is contextual. We like it so much easier it is to say you are a thing. You are a single trait. I can stereotype you. You are segment X. We used to have 6 segments. We always talk about segment 6. And yes, it makes our jobs easier. It is not true though. People are not just one thing. They have multiple traits, multiple dimensionalities. And if you're not gonna recognize those in how you build personas and how you build customers, you're often gonna miss the customer thinking that, oh, they wanted to come into the office. Well, no, in fact, they didn't. Just because they like to shop in person to buy apparel does not mean they want to come in and shop taxes in person. Right. Again, it's the difference that we're not just one thing. So I encourage everybody to read that End of Average book and then apply that to how you think about, as Jay mentioned, customers, intermediaries, and then start thinking, I think it's much tougher, what does that mean to the complexity of the omnichannel first that we're expected to be in?
Well, the interesting thing on that, at least to me, is that in the omnichannel world, customers will use multiple channels. And they use multiple channels to service and get their experience to where they want it to be. However, they vary their channel based on the type of interaction and talk, like they want to talk to somebody perhaps about the return. But if they just want to know, do you have my paperwork, they can just check that online. And so people will vary, and again, it varies on customer, it varies on, I'll say, persona. But we also have to make sure, and I would say this to everybody in the room, when you're looking at setting up your channels and your ability, banker for years, and mobile banking came in, isn't that great? Well, no one integrated mobile banking into their conversational platform. And suddenly, you got a disconnect because they can do something on mobile. And oh, by the way, that's yesterday's balance, not today. I know it's gotten a lot better, but the point is, do you have feature parity across your channels? Is there feature parity across your channel? Because if not, you're gonna create channel bias. And then for data people like ourselves, we're gonna come in and say, well, gosh, this is your favorite channel. No, it's because everybody goes here because it has more robust information. So that's the other thing I'd say is in this complex world, in the rush to get ourselves digitally present, we need to make sure that we're digitally proficient, and do we have feature parity and things like that.
Jay, one more thing, and then I want to open up to the audience because I'm certain the audience has a couple of questions. But Jay, what do you have to say to wrap that?
I was just going to say, one of the dialogues I've had since being at the conference is folks have asked, and I hear it in the groups, how do you make this important across your organization? Many of you belong to large, multinational or diverse organizations, lots of businesses. Nationwide certainly represents that. And how do you force multiply and get it into your workforce and folks engaged in the experience in becoming, an extraordinary experienced professional. Obviously education and training and so on, but some of the things that we just publish as, Fortune 100 organizations, they publish an annual report. They publish a sustainability report. More organizations are doing that. We also now publish a state of the customer report. And we talk about our two customers. We talk about our member that I mentioned and our intermediaries to really establish the importance of no matter where you are seated in your organization, that we have two customers and we focus on both of them. And create more awareness in there, provide just relevant information, statistical information, just general industries information about how people purchase and will actually pay more for a better experience and stay longer. And sharing information like that just force multiplies an organization, and it starts that continuous drip. We've only been at this with the Chief Customer Officer. I report to the Chief Customer Office for about 2.5 years, but that has gone a long way to establish the importance, because it is, and we publish that actually twice a year, and it sits on those tables that are in the offices or at home desks right next to sustainability and annual report. It says customer experience and extraordinary care is important to us at Nationwide.
Awesome, thank you, sir. All right, I think, audience, we have a few more minutes, and if you'd like to log on to Slido and ask a question of these gentlemen, what an amazing set of expertise right here. And if we have a microphone, If you want to raise your hand, anyone? Josh can come by. Questions? I see a question back there.
Hi, my name is Kathy. I have a question for you regarding, you mentioned about the channel, they may be using it because it's the one they can get access to get the data that they're looking for. I'm wondering if you have a way with true omnichannel, any of you are experiencing being able to gather them together. I know my number one pet peeve is everybody else. When you call in, you put everything in the audit, you put in your name, you put your birthday, everything else. Then you start all over when you finally get to a audit. Same thing happens with the chat, they have no idea what's going on. To me, true omnichannel is tying those together. Curious, thanks.
Sure.
So, to me, omnichannel is the communication buzzword, right? It used to be multi-channel, now it's omnichannel. And omnichannel does have the ability to link your conversations together. The question is, does the company have the ability and the technique and tactics to pull that out and extract it into one and deliver it to the agent desktop? The disconnects, we have very connected, our customers have more connectivity than they've ever had in the past, all these channels. But we're disconnected in that our data centers are disconnected and the communication that goes with it, and our agents are disconnected because they can't see. So I would tell you that in my experience in omnichannel is that linkage is there, but the disconnect is when it gets delivered into the desktop and they don't have that linkage to the omnichannel data.
I would add, we are in that space. We're working with a service that helps us to see across. If they've hit us on social, they try to solve a problem on the internet, and now they're contacting us and linking those so that we know what that customer experience has been so far, and they haven't found a resolution. That still feels kind of like we're on our heels, right? We're trying to address something that is an unfulfilled need. I think that the aspirational aspect of that is how do we get on our toes and be ahead of that, knowing that they're asking about a product or feature or capability or delivery that they're expecting. We're not there yet. It is the right place to focus efforts. And one part of your question was just around data and how companies maybe are specialized. I've heard a lot of discussion around data lakes. And being able to look side to side as an organization. There's nothing worse than being in a big RFP process at with the board chair sitting across, and they have said, well, I just bought a pet policy, did you know that? They know more about your interaction than you do. We're getting much better in that space to look side to side across our organization, at least in upmarket opportunities, to say, we already have a trusted relationship here, and we have another solution that they're interested in.
Well, with that, we're out of time, but these gentlemen will be here on the floor. Please walk up and talk to Jay, Carl, or Andrew. during lunch or the next break. And with that, gentlemen, I just want to thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure. And are we going